Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Beat, a news and informative talk program brought to you by the Center for Community Media at Worcester State University. I'm RJ Sheedy, and today we'll be discussing the upcoming Sustainability and Food Day Fair happening here at Worcester State on October 19th to 20th. The two-day extravaganza will feature teach-ins, a farmer's market, exhibits, movie showings, and so much more. Joining us on set today will be Allison Dunn, who will be teaching Climate 101, and will be hosting a Democracy Cafe on the election and climate change. Dr. Patricia Benjamin will also be here talking about the teaching schedule. But for now, we are excited to be joined by the Sustainability Director here at Worcester State, Mr. Steve Bandera. Steve,
RJ.
thank you so much for coming in today for this interview. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
I'm very excited to be here.
So we said that you're the Sustainability Director here. Can you tell us about your job title and what exactly it is you do here at Worcester State?
Yeah, well, I always say my job here is to make the campus more green. I think it's the best job on campus. Officially, my job is to implement our commitment to the Second Nature's climate commitment. We signed on in 2007 to an agreement called the ACU-PCC. It's the American College and University President's Climate Commitment. Basically, there's two tenets to the commitment. One is that we're going to integrate sustainability into our curriculum, and the other is to try to be carbon neutral by 2050. So those are both big things, and we've made a lot of progress on both. So in the curriculum side, we have a proposal going forward to start a interdisciplinary environmental and sustainability minor program. And on the carbon neutral side, we do all kinds of different things, such as saving energy, reducing waste, saving water, having better transportation options, all kinds of different things.
Okay.
And that's what I get to do on a day-to-day basis.
So that's your day-to-day basis.
Yes.
What have been some of your projects been to basically make us greener? Is there anything that you're most proud of?
Sure. Yeah, well, there's a lot of things. I love that we get 10% of our electricity from 100% clean sources. So it's a start. It's getting us in the right direction. We have solar panels on a couple of our buildings. The new wellness center that just opened has a 20,000-gallon rain barrel, basically, underneath the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're going to collect rainwater when it rains, and then that's what we'll use to water the grounds.
That's really cool. Okay,
It's
that's
great.
saving water.
It's going to save a lot of water.
Especially now that there's a drought going on.
Exactly, and I'm sure it's going to happen again, so it's going to be our part in helping that problem in the future. We have, there's some other things. I know, I get really excited when I talk about this.
Yeah, no, I love this. Go for it.
We have an electric car charging station on
campus.
campus.
Do we really?
Yes, we do. So there's two heads, so we could be charging two cars at the same time. So if somebody's thinking about purchasing an electric car, they have a place to charge their car now. Zip cars on campus. We have a new composting program. There's lots of different things, but I could go on and on.
That's so cool. So as the sustainability coordinator, you have a huge role in putting the Sustainability and Food Day Fair together. What's the history of the affair, and how has it evolved over the years to become what it is now?
Sure, yeah. Well, I've been here for almost 5 years, but this is our 9th Sustainability Fair. So some of the history, I mentioned Pat Benjamin will be.
Yeah,
she
told me that she's been here since the very beginning of the fair.
Yes, so I'll leave some of that history to her. I'm sure she can speak a lot better to the initial history. But since I've been here, it's grown from a one-day event to a two-day event, and we've included Food Day, which is, I think it's October 24th, into the sustainability part, because a big part of sustainability is food, meaning local food, sustainably produced food. So we make that part of the fair, and that's happened in the last few years. It's really grown to just be this, I call it an extravaganza now.
It really is. Like the whole campus just shuts down and like converges onto this one event for 2 days. It's so cool.
It's great, yeah. Especially with the last couple of years, we've had WRTA's electric bus. They have a 100% battery-powered bus that comes in that we can tour. And this year, again, we'll have a couple dealerships here where you can drive an electric car.
Who's coming in?
Well, so far we have a commitment from BMW.
Those are nice cars.
Yeah, they're really nice.
I wonder if any of the students here could afford them.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But we're hoping like Nissan and Ford and possibly Chevy. I know they're being talk to also.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of the fair?
The purpose of the fair is to get people interested in sustainability and to help them learn about what sustainability is. Because, it's one of those words that could mean a lot of different things. I go into classrooms and I do some guest lecturing, and I have a whole slide with about 25 different terms for what sustainability is. So it's everything from, one of our vendors is a beekeeper to somebody who sells super discounted LED light bulbs. So sustainability encompasses all different things. Climate change, as you're going to have Dr. Dunn on the program. So sustainability, to me, is everything about making the planet livable for future generations and not ruining the planet so that we can continue living here.
What can you tell students watching this right now? What can you tell them to do to help them make their lives every day more sustainable for the future?
That's easy. Just do one thing.
Just one
all
thing?
You have to do. Just do one thing. Pick one thing and do it. It's a really overwhelming when you start to think about it. It can be discouraging when you learn about what's going on. But what I tell people is don't worry too much. Just pick one thing and do it. Whether that's you're going to recycle more, you're going to use less water, you're going to use your bike, you're going to carpool. Just pick one of those things.
So the small things you do every day really matters in the big overall picture of things.
It does. It really does. And if everybody just does one thing, that'll add up to an amazing effort on everybody's part. And once you start doing one thing for a little while, it becomes second nature. And then maybe you think about doing another thing.
What is your one thing you do every day?
Oh, gosh.
I'm sure there's multiple things
yeah,
you do.
There's a lot. Well,
I saw you brought your little reusable water
sure.
bottle with you. You don't do plastic?
No, I try not to do plastic, and I try to recycle. This was a present from my wife when I started the job here.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool that you've had it for all these years.
Yeah, it's been almost 5 years. And so knock on wood, I haven't broken it yet.
I don't know if this is real wood. I'm not sure about that.
That's all right. We'll take it.
So in an interview last year, you mentioned that you organize the vendors who come to campus. What's your process for selecting the vendors, and what do you look for in a potential vendor?
Sure. Well, we try to have a wide variety of vendors, and vendors that are going to teach or show something different or interesting to the students and faculty and staff. But mostly for the students. We really want the students to learn about sustainability here. So, for example, I mentioned we have somebody selling discounted LEDs. That's Mass Save.
Is that a big grab for students?
Some for students. That's probably more for faculty and staff. But I think more for students, we have a beekeeper here. He's very popular.
He has really good honey. I gotta tell you, I tried his honey last year.
Yeah.
Best honey I've ever had.
Yes, and he's giving a short presentation this year too. WRTA is going to be here, and they're going to give a presentation about just how to use the bus, how to use their app and find out where the buses are and if the schedules are running. Worcester Tree Initiative is going to be here. I got a cheat sheet right here. Yeah, I know. Like I said, the electric cars. And then some groups on campus will also be here, like DEEP, the environmental department, the urban studies department, who runs our community garden across the street, will be here. They'll be giving tours of the community garden. So there's lots of different things to learn about, which is really the goal of getting vendors, a wide variety with interesting topics.
This event's so cool. There's so many vendors and teachers and movie showings going on. It's just like it's an absolute extravaganza.
And don't forget about the local food. The Chartwell's does a local food lunch on the third floor of the student center. And
why is this not the headline in this story?
I know, and they have grass-fed burgers, which are my favorite. They are fantastic burgers. You'll see me there both days.
Okay, I'll make sure to get the burger. What do you think attracts the whole community to this event?
Well, I hope it's because they want to come and learn something. We have a great community of students here. I think I've been really impressed with the students' eagerness to learn new things and to be concerned about their future. I've seen that in every class that I've gone into, and I think that's what attracts people. I think people care, and I think people want to know and want to do something positive about the future. Now,
this is the ninth year this is happening.
Yeah.
It's gonna go. This thing will go on forever, I swear. Where do you think? So. Where do you think the future of this event is going?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What do you envision for the future yourself?
Well, yeah, My thing I'd love to see is tiny houses.
Tiny houses?
Yes, tiny.
That's so cool.
The smaller houses. It's,
Uh-huh.
some people are doing them on mobile ones on wheels, or just a smaller permanent residence. You know, there's a whole movement out there right now. It's almost anti-consumerism. It's the idea that, oh, you know, 4 people don't need to live in a 2,400 square foot house, you know, a McMansion. And it's a really interesting movement. And I'm hoping maybe next year or the year after we can get some of those tiny houses.
That could be really cool.
here.
I was literally talking to a student here who's a friend of mine, and he told me that his goal is to live in a tiny house.
That's
And I
great.
thought this was a joke at first, but no, this is a real
Yeah,
thing.
It is absolutely a real thing.
Do you live in a tiny house?
We live in what would be considered a small house.
A small?
Yeah.
Would you consider it a small house?
I think it's great. No, I don't. It doesn't feel small at all. It's about 650 square feet.
Okay, cool.
Between
I don't know why I'm
600
asking you about
700
your
square
house.
feet. No, yeah, I get it asked all the time. I get asked that question all the time.
That's so great.
But yeah, maybe about 700 square feet. My wife also has a separate art studio, but it's plenty big for us. We just, you know, you don't have to clean too much. It's just the right size.
That's so cool. Steve, thank you so much for
RJ,
coming in
yeah,
today.
yeah,
This
thank you
was an
for having me.
absolute pleasure talking to you. Steve Bandera, everybody. We'll be right back with Dr. Patricia Benjamin. Stay tuned, everybody.
What I do to go green at my own home is I buy local as much as I can. I buy organic and local grass-fed burgers. I recycle, and a lot of my appliances in my home are the Energy Star rated, so low energy.
I tend to recycle a lot, and I try to carpool as much as I can.
I like to recycle, and when I'm at home, my brother takes compost and he has a compost pile, so try as best as I can to use that.
I've actually converted to a vegetarian diet, and that is much more sustainable than the meat-eating diet that people are so used to nowadays. In America, we eat a lot of meat compared to other countries in the world, and ultimately, that's not very sustainable. Just look at the Dust Bowl. We have a monoculture of all sorts of different corn crops and such, and it just absolutely wreaks havoc on the environment. And we only have so much water. Cows suck up so much water, but I could go on for about that forever. But yeah, current agricultural system is not very sustainable.
I try to carpool around. I try to recycle. Whenever I see trash, I pick it up and throw it away.
Saving the environment, you know, I mean, I'm for, you know, like cutting but, you know, like cutting emissions down, you know, maybe electric cars, you know, not relying on fossil fuels, like wind power, solar power, the whole 9 yards.
Sustainability means being able to not only provide for yourself, but possibly even your community. For example, at home, we grow a lot of our own vegetables and stuff, and we tend to share that with other members of our family.
Sustainability means to me making the earth, the place that we live in, just a better planet overall. Recycling, composting, doing anything we can to be green in our lives, and whether that be changing your light bulbs to LEDs or running with an electric car, anything we can do.
Sustainability means saving the earth using natural remedies instead of, you know, all these chemically made things, trying to recycle and do all that good stuff.
Sustainability means that all of the resources that we absorb from the environment are renewable. We use all renewable resources because right now we only have so much in the environment in reserve, and we're just absorbing all of these resources in order to like perpetuate a system that itself is not very sustainable. Sustainability works with that, taking resources that can renew themselves so that we can survive as the human race.
Welcome back to The Beat. Today we're discussing the Sustainability Food Day Fair happening here on campus from October 19th through the 20th. Joining us now on set is Dr. Pat Benjamin. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that you could join us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So tell me about what is your title and primary area of teaching here at Worcester State?
Okay, I teach in the Department of Earth, Environment, and Physics. We like to call it DEEP for short.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm an associate professor in that department. Most of my teaching duties are in the area of human geography. So I'm a social scientist surrounded by earth scientists. And I teach intro human geography. I teach a number of environmental studies courses and a few others.
Okay, so now you have been with the Sustainability Food Day Fair since the very beginning of it here at Worcester State. What's the primary function of the fair?
The primary function is to raise awareness about issues of environmental sustainability and the sustainability of our food systems. It's evolved. The purpose has evolved a bit through time, but currently we're asking our community here at Worcester State to just pause in our busy days for 2 days and pay attention to these issues.
So you said it has evolved since the beginning. How has it evolved? Has what you guys been teaching evolved? Has what you guys been bringing in for vendors evolved?
Yeah, it's all evolved. Would you like me to go through a brief history?
Yeah, please, I'd love it.
So we actually started in 2008, and at that time there were for about 2 years, there were various national efforts to raise awareness about climate change specifically. So there were a couple of national organizations that sponsored climate teach-ins around the United States. The first one was called Focus the Nation. So here at Worcester State, we just quickly, in the space of 3 weeks at the beginning of the spring semester, we cobbled together this event, and we got about 500 people.
You put it all together in 3 weeks?
We did.
What was this first event like? What did you put together in 3 weeks?
I mean,
so
partly it revolved around national broadcast, which actually technically didn't go off very well, but the idea was to do teach-ins on campuses around the country and then bring everyone together in the evening for a national broadcast. And we had some local regional politicians there. It was really successful. We reached about 500 people. That one. And then the following year, there was another organization that did sponsored a national climate teach-in. So we did that again. And in conjunction with those two initial events, the career services person on campus at the time, Marcia Eagleson, assisted by campus ministry folks, they were also interested in issues of sustainability, so they were putting together green careers kind of fairs, and they were interested in bringing information to students about how could you go out into the working world and live your values. So all of those threads kind of came together as one event. So we started in 2008, and then by 2009, 2010, it became this one big event. Right, and largely it was focused around climate change, but also other environmental issues. And then at the same time, there was this national effort called Food Day, which was really about raising awareness about issues of, our food system, is it sustainable, but also do people have access to food, and why do we tolerate hunger in America, and those kinds of issues. Those sort of ran parallel. And Dr. Maureen Power from Urban Studies was the one who was organizing that. And so those two events went on for a few years kind of in parallel. And then I think 3 years ago, it might have been 4, we decided to combine them into one 2-day event. And here we are. So every year it's gotten bigger. And the way it works now is that the faculty organize the teach-ins and the sustainability office organizes the fair part. But we spend much of the summer working together to plan.
So as you said, this is a huge 2-day event. Campus literally shuts down for this. There's no way you can turn when you don't know this is going on. What do you think attracts the WSU community to this event?
Well, I think we've built kind of a dynamic, a vibe around it over the years. The Sustainability Office, for one, spent much of their budget ordering a bazillion signs. So as you say, it becomes hard to miss.
Yeah.
Our hope is that we suspend business as usual for a couple of days to focus on these important issues. People life still does continue and people go about their regular business during those 2 days. But, you know, last year we had, I think, 1,300 students attend events, and I just got pre-registration for this year, and I have 1,000 students
Oh, wow.
pre-registered in that their faculty are bringing them, right, to something. So, you know, we hope that it just keeps growing. I think because it's fun, it's informative. I think this generation gets these issues, you know, issues of food justice, issues of climate change, issues of water and biodiversity. I think, you know, you guys get this. So I think it's not torture for you to have to come, right, and pay attention.
No, this is stuff like we already, I think my generation is well aware about, and we just want to really help slow down climate change as much as we can. So, as you said, you know, we like campus to kind of like shut down for a few days, but obviously some people still are busy with other classes, and they can't make every single one of the events. Being in charge of the teaching aspect of it, which teachings do you really hope students go to the most?
You know, I can't really answer that. I can't really say that I have a preference. I mean, I think people should go to the topics that interest them, right? Because, I mean, there's so much work to do in this world around environmental and social justice and hunger issues that, you know, whatever you want to learn about, go find out about it, right? Or if you're, you know, if someone's kind of aware that, oh, I don't really know a lot about this, then maybe that would be a chance to fill in some gaps in your knowledge. Or maybe you meet somebody really cool at the fair, right, at a vendor a booth, and, you know, that might spark you to want to go to something else.
Yeah, I met a beekeeper last year. He was very, very cool.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
his honey was really yummy, too.
Yeah.
What do you hope is the #1 takeaway students get from this event?
That environmental issues, food justice issues are really important. They're really critical. They're among the topics that are going to shape the lifetimes of our current students, and they can seem overwhelming at times. So I think it's really important to get as, you know, as much quality knowledge as you can, but also to get inspiration and to kind of get the sense that we can work on these things. It requires us to know what we're doing and to show up. So that's what I hope students get out of it, a sense of power. You know, what's our Worcester State motto? Change the way the world works? Well, we hope this event offers some inspiration for students to do that.
That's awesome. That's so beautiful. Now, you have been holding this event, and you have been really involved with it for the past 9 years. Where do you see the future of this event going? Possibilities are really endless.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know. I mean, every year different faculty decide to participate, and some, you know, do other things, and, you know, we invite different community members to come. I think, I mean, the only trend I see really is that it gets bigger and bigger. So
There's no way to go up but up now.
I would be happy if the entire campus shut down and nothing else happened for those 2 days. But
Can we make this happen? Can this be the Sustainability Food Day for 2017? Just make it like, let's totally shut down everything.
okay,
Let's
yeah,
lock
work,
the doors.
work on it, guys.
Just right outside, everything outside in the parking lot.
Work on it. I'm good with that.
Dr. Benjamin, thank you so much for being here. This was a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with Dr. Allison Dunn. Stay tuned, everybody.
My favorite part about that, I hate to say it, but the free food, because it's so cool to see like what they bring.
You know, just focusing on local food and agriculture, local produce, fruits and veggies. Just bringing in a bunch of vendors, and that's pretty much what the gist of it, I would assume.
My favorite part of the sustainability fair is all the free things I get there. It's pretty cool, and it gives me an opportunity to try things I probably wouldn't buy on my own.
I think I've been to the Sustainability Fair a couple of times before. The Sustainability Fair has a lot of good lectures that happen during the day on a weekend or so. I think an extended Thursday to Friday, where they have a lot of lectures. A lot of the professors like to get involved, especially the ones that are into the green chemistry program here at Worcester State, as well as sustainability classes. Many of our other professors are into that as well. We have plenty of great lectures. I always try and attain at least one during my schedule.
We host a local food lunch in Sheehan Hall Pod, and run a farmers market as well on the third floor of the Student Center for the Food Day and Sustainability Fair. They have like poster boards downstairs with a whole bunch of like information about recycling, what's happening around in the world with like the pollution.
But I do believe in climate change. I believe it's very critical, and it's something that we need to act upon.
Absolutely, I believe in climate change. Well, I think it roots back to the Industrial Revolution, I'd say around 200 years ago. I'd say, 19th century, in world industrialized, and industrialization was a good thing, but, we definitely need to do something and cut back on some emissions that are definitely the root cause of it.
Definitely global warming, but because of like human interaction with our own globe, we've definitely propelled the pollution, and just like overall we've helped with affecting the earth in a negative way.
Not exactly. Maybe like pollution or the certain things that people don't do, like recycling and just gas emissions and stuff, like what kind of cars you drive, maybe, and certain things that affect our like global climate and stuff. So
Climate change is absolutely a process that happens to the earth, and right now there are natural cycles that happen, but the humans on the planet are accelerating all of these vast changes. And there's a lot of evidence that ever since the Industrial Revolution, we've been having all these carbon emissions just accelerate all of these things. And soon, we're all going to be underwater. I would like to have beachfront property, but I don't think everyone else on the coast would like being underwater.
I do believe in climate change. There's so much evidence. How can you not? How could you not?
What do you think is the root cause?
I think the root cause is probably carbon emissions, just because I feel like that's the most prominent thing that we do on this earth.
I do believe in climate change. I think the way that we are operating our homes and our businesses is a main cause of it. I think if we were to use less energy and less natural resources, then we'd be able to control our climate change.
Welcome back to The Beat, everybody. I'm RJ Sheedy. So we've heard from the Sustainability Director here on campus. We've heard from Dr. Pat Benjamin, who's in charge of the teaching schedule. And now we have somebody joining us who is actually teaching during the fair. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Allison Dunn. Dr. Dunn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So excited to have you here. So I understand you're teaching Climate 101 during the fair. Can you give us a quick overview of what people might learn from you during this teaching session?
Sure. Well, I've taught Climate 101 or some version thereof at every sustainability fair I've participated in. And I think it's a really great opportunity to bring the science of climate change to the wider Worcester State community. And the way I'd like to do that is by getting the participants involved right off the bat with working with the scientific data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring data showing the temperature record over the past 100+ years and let them look at it. What does it say? What seems to be happening?
What does that data say? How much has the temperature actually risen in the last 100 years?
Well, we were just looking at this in my earth science class today, and it's risen 0.8 degrees Celsius since 1880, which is the earliest time that we really trust our temperature data. And so there's been ups and downs. You know, if you live in Worcester, you know that we can have a really cold winter, we can have a winter that wasn't, kind of like last winter. And global climate is similar. We have warmer years and cooler years. But if you look at the data, it's really clear that there is a strong upwards trend, especially in the past 40 or 50 years or so. And so in Climate 101, I'm going to have the participants first just engage with that data, look at what it's telling us, look at what the trend line is. And then we'll talk about why. What does the science say about why this is happening? How can we use climate models to detect the human fingerprint in this data? So what about this data can we attribute to the human influence? And then how can we use climate models to help us think about what the future is going to look like? And what can we do about it? How can we pick a future trend line that is better for humanity and the rest of the planet?
Okay, you just said a lot. So let's go back to let's go back to climate change. People understand there's several causes of what it may be. What do you think is the root cause of climate change?
Well, the science says that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is by far the primary driver behind the climate change that we're observing. And so carbon dioxide is what's called a greenhouse gas. You can sort of think of it as a blanket. So when the Earth releases heat, the CO2 in the atmosphere captures that heat and re-radiates it back to the surface. So it acts as a blanket or an insulating layer. And CO2 is definitely the most important greenhouse gas there in the atmosphere as far as the ones that humans are responsible for.
So humans are responsible for that greenhouse gas that's up there in the air.
We're responsible for the extra greenhouse gas, yes. You know, there are many greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, but we've been adding to it. And you can really see that in the data. You can see the human influence. And so where does that CO2 come from? Almost all of it comes from fossil fuel burning. So, you know, if you drive your car, if you turn on your furnace, which we're getting ready to do at this time of year, if you use electricity, most of our electricity comes from fossil fuel sources. So even if you think you're not producing CO2, it's impossible to live in this modern world without producing CO2.
Let me ask you about natural gas. There's a lot of talk going on about natural gas being the future of energy, or however big oil companies want to spin it. However, it is very dangerous extracting that natural gas. Is natural gas as good as we're told it is?
It has benefits, but it's not a panacea. So natural gas is a more concentrated form of fossil fuel energy. What that means is if you burn a unit of natural gas, you'll get more oomph, more energy per greenhouse gas emission. You'll get more energy for the CO2 you're releasing than if you burn coal. But to look at it that way is a little bit too narrow, because you have to look at the process of producing that natural gas. And producing natural gas, right, there's hydraulic fracturing, which has a whole host of concerns associated with it. And also the infrastructure for natural gas is leaky. I actually
It's leaky?
Leaky. There's natural gas leaks all over the place.
Oh, going to like water supplies and stuff, right?
Well, think of your natural gas pipeline. You may have it coming into your house. Those pipelines have leaks throughout the entire network. I actually was part of a research project where we hooked up our car with this CO2 and methane sensor, natural gas sensor, and we drove around Boston, and then we drove between Boston and Worcester, and we found places where there were high levels of natural gas due to leaking. So while natural gas is an important energy source, these leaks kind of help negate that benefit, the benefit of the energy we get from it, because it sends the natural gas into the atmosphere, and it too is a greenhouse gas. It's a very powerful greenhouse gas.
Are these leaks as bad as oil leaks? Or are they even worse?
They're different. Oil leaks are very visible, right? You know, when Deepwater Horizon blew in the Gulf of Mexico, we saw the images of the shoreline impacts, the birds that were affected. Methane's invisible for the most part, natural gas. You know, it goes up into the atmosphere. We don't see it going there, but it's a very powerful greenhouse gas. So it also contributes to the warming of the atmosphere. There's a lot more methane in the atmosphere than there used to be. So it's not the solution. Maybe it's sort of a temporary
a little
fuel.
Band-Aid for the problem right now?
Band-Aid, perfect. But we need to really fix the problem of all greenhouse gas pollution, and methane is just sort of another element of the pollution.
So climate change is validated by scientific evidence. However, people, including politicians and just every ordinary citizens, still deny climate change. Why is that, with all this scientific evidence proving otherwise?
I think it comes down to human nature. Change is hard. Re-envisioning a modern society powered by an energy source other than fossil fuels, that's really hard. If you are a company whose bottom line depends on fossil fuel extraction, if you're Exxon, if you're Mobil, if you're BP, you know, you don't want that future, because that future destroys the value of your company. So there have been millions and millions of dollars spent by these fossil fuel companies to discredit the information that's coming out regarding climate change, because their bottom line depends on us not doing anything about climate change. And so that, I think, in a nutshell, is why we are where we are. Those companies have deep pockets. They can disseminate their information that is contrary to the scientific evidence, and they donate to politicians.
So you're really saying it's not in their best interest to find another alternative source of energy, because what they're doing right now is just so profitable for them?
It's profitable for them, and their valuation on the stock market is dependent on the fossil fuel reserves they have listed. So the value of British Petroleum is based on not just what they're producing now, but what they are predicted to be producing in the future based on the reserves they own. If all of a sudden we say, wait, those no longer have value, that will undermine the fundamentals of how these companies work out on the stock market. And a lot of people who used to be very rich won't be rich anymore.
So fossil fuel, as we all know, is not a renewable energy. It doesn't come back once it's all gone. Are we close to like almost depleting all our usage?
Close to what?
Depleting our usage of fossil fuels.
There's still a lot of fossil fuel out there, unfortunately. There's a lot of coal reserves out there. Coal can keep going for centuries. Oil, liquid petroleum, there is a more finite resource of. But the thing is, if we burn all of this fossil fuel we have, we're sunk in terms of climate. So our future depends on leaving it in the ground. And again, that gets back to the question of the fossil fuel companies and being valuated on the stuff that's in the ground. So they are, their future depends on extracting that, whereas the planet's future depends on keeping it in the ground.
Is there any work right now going on to basically move away from fossil fuels? Because I know we got electric cars coming. What else is coming down the pipeline? What is being worked on to possibly remedy the situation?
So I must preface this by saying I'm not an expert in alternative energy, because I'm more concentrated on the atmospheric side of things. But if you look at the World Energy Reports, they come out every year, the amount of generating capacity on the alternative front, it's skyrocketing. It's growing at a really rapid rate. It blows my mind every year when I look at it. We're having a lot more wind generating capacity, a lot more solar capacity, even in countries that you wouldn't expect being big solar powerhouses like Germany, countries that are not exactly warm and sunny. So we do have the technology and we are expanding it, but we really need to drastically scale it up in terms of the generation capacity. And the ability to have more of an electric car fleet will play into that if we can use alternative electric sources to power those cars. So there's development in all areas that hopefully can work together and get scaled up to help solve the problem.
Okay, so during the Sustainability Food Day Fair, you are hosting a Democracy Cafe on climate change and election 2016. How could this upcoming election impact climate change in the future?
I think the choice could not be starker in this election. Some of the viewers may know there was a climate agreement that was come to in Paris last year, and it was signed this spring. And under that agreement, the countries of the world each developed their own plan for reducing their fossil fuel emissions of carbon dioxide. In essence, they came up with a plan to help their country reduce climate change. At the Paris Agreement, all the countries came together and they pledged to go ahead with these commitments. That's what they're called. These commitments are not perfect. If every country meets its obligations, we're still going to warm a lot. We're still going to warm more than 2 degrees Celsius. But it's a big difference from what will happen if we don't do anything. Because if we don't do anything, we're going down a path towards a world that is unimaginable from the world we live in today. A world where all the food supply we take for granted can no longer be taken for granted because climate zones are going to shift. So in terms of the Paris Climate Agreement, one of the candidates, Hillary Clinton, has pledged to enforce it and put the full faith of the United States behind meeting its commitments. And Donald Trump has said that he wants to pull the U.S. out of it. So, when you go to the ballot box, you're not just deciding between whether you like candidate X or Y's personality or position on, other issues. You're also deciding on what type of future you want for your children and your grandchildren in terms of the climate stability.
Yeah, I think it was Bernie Sanders who said during one of the debates that climate change is the number one threat facing our country right now. And when he said that, I was blown away because I've never heard any politician say something that real before. And this is a real issue and we need to really tackle it. And I really want to thank you for bringing this issue to light and hosting a Democracy Cafe on it.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to tell people about it.
Of course, and I want to thank you for coming too. Thank you to all our viewers who watched it today. Thank you to all of our guests who were on today, who donated their time to being here. I'm RJ Sheedy, hosting for The Beat. We'll see you soon, everybody.